You're listening to the Careers BU podcast, the podcast aimed at Bournemouth University students and graduates. Each episode we talk to employers, alumni and professionals all about their career journey, what employers are looking for, and help you explore the opportunities that are available to you. Hello and welcome to this episode. I'm your host Amanda Fripp, Careers Advisor at Bournemouth University. In today's episode, I talk to BU graduate Mollie Taylor. Mollie is the co-founder of 4 Acre Farm, a community interest company in Ringwood, Hampshire. In this episode, we explore how Mollie discovered her passion for conservation and, along with her stepsister, turned that into a business idea which brings together her love for nature, wellbeing and education. We also find out about her experience at the BU Eco Entrepreneurs Challenge, where she was awarded the second prize of £1,500. So welcome, Mollie. Thank you for joining me today. We met at the final pitch of the Eco Entrepreneurs Fund, didn't we?
Yes, we did. Yeah.
Yeah. And actually then I found you were so enthusiastic and dedicated to conservation and your project. So it would be really great to hear kind of your story today and a bit about your career journey. So your company is a community interest company. What is that?
So it's kind of like a hybrid between a charity and a business. So it allows us to gain a profit, so we can earn a profit with some restrictions, as long as this goes back into our local community and we benefit the community as well as growing a business. So it's kind of so we can apply for grants and bids and funding from external sources, but also be able to be a business and earn some money that way.
Lovely. So it's kind of a form of a social enterprise, then it's a type of social enterprise, I believe, is it?
Yes. Yeah, I did have to look that up because I wasn't entirely sure. Obviously, I'm not a business background person, but yes, it is a type of social enterprise.
Okay. So you're the founder or co-founder with your friend Kate of 4 Acre Farm. So what is the 4 Acre Farm?
It's an amalgamation of our two backgrounds together. So we have 4 acres, obviously, hence the name. 1 acre is a market garden, so it's all grown almost better than organic, so we don't use any added chemicals, no fertilizers, nothing. And we follow a no-dig method, so we just don't disturb the soil. We try and grow fruit and veg as close to nature as it would have been grown before humans fiddled with it too much. And then we have an acre of an orchard, so everything's very, very young at the moment, but we've got tons of heritage fruit trees, loads. I could list them, but I don't think that's as important. And then we've got 2 acres of wildflower meadow, or more wild habitat. So we've had a few hiccups, which I'm sure we'll chat about later, but that's there for wildlife. So we're sort of mixing wildlife habitat with growing healthy food for our local community.
Lovely. So the objective is to grow food for the community, kind of generate the land, bring it kind of back to nature. And are you going to will you be running other projects kind of within that as well?
Yeah, so we've got like a few different things that we want to get involved with. But yeah, the mission I guess in general is to provide that food and provide that habitat. And the habitat itself will go alongside education as well. So having local schools out, having adults out to have course days, learning all about the food cycle, learning how to cook as well, some healthy meals. And also then learning about how people can benefit wildlife themselves, or how what we're doing is benefiting wildlife, and kind of using it as a model for other people to even just come learn and go away and maybe create themselves as well, would be our absolute ultimate goal. But we'll see. Yeah, we get new project ideas every 5 minutes, so we need to control ourselves sometimes. But yeah.
Sounds amazing. So when did you start this? How many years ago?
The idea came a few years ago, probably in like 2018, 2019. But we actually, got the lease for our land, and we were allowed on our land. It was officially our bit to use last October. So only just over a year now. So we've done a lot in a year. But yeah, just over a year.
And is it just you and Kate that run this, or anyone else involved?
I mean, officially it's me and Kate, but we've had so much help from volunteers that it wouldn't be right to say it was just me and Kate. We've had yeah, like most of what we've been able to do has been because we've had so many people wanting to join in and willing to give time and plant trees and make beds, and really hard work. But yeah, we've been really grateful and lucky.
And where did the idea come from? Kind of at what point, and how did it come about?
So it's, well, you don't need my whole backstory, but me and Kate are sort of stepsisters. So her dad is my sort of stepdad, and we were just going for a walk. She used to live in Cranbourne, and we went for a walk one day just around where she was, and she was telling me all about because she was a private chef, and she was just telling me how most of her work was in London, and she just moved from London, and she just wanted to get back into growing some food, and she just started working with this guy called Charles Dowding and helping him out on his farm, and he's like the no dig guru, god, whatever people, I don't know, he has a good following. And we just sort of melted our ideas together. So she wanted to grow this food, and she wanted to have this a space to do so and teach people, and yeah, document what we're doing. And I was like, well, I want to teach people about nature, and I want to have an area that I can use as a teaching space and do things how I want to do them and not have to follow curriculums and things like that. I want to also be able to open up these opportunities to all age ranges, because although I've worked in engagement and currently still do engagement roles in conservation, a lot of the stuff, you have to follow the funding. You just have to. There is no money in conservation, and a lot of the funding comes from kids and like forest schools and bringing schools in to visit your sites. We wanted to open this up and have, obviously paid for sessions, and you can charge, a good amount for some of these sessions as well. Like we've seen them advertised, and we've been on some ourselves, but using some of that profit to then open that up to people who wouldn't have had that opportunity, maybe wouldn't even think about it. Local charities, for example, like women's abuse charities and things like that, sort of saying, well, why don't you come and do something for a little bit? And yeah, from my previous roles, I'm very intermingled with well-being and nature and all that. So it's kind of like they kind of married up quite well, because food growing has, well, it's especially, we say recently, but recently has been very detrimental to nature, but it doesn't have to be. And this is kind of a way that is a sustainable, business model. We could make money, and we can kind of, as a CIC, we can decide, well, that portion can go to the charitable arm, and that can go to, paying us for our time, and also maybe going back into the business. We've got that nice balance that we can do those two things.
So tell me a bit about your career journey to date, because you are a BU alum as well. So, what did you study? Kind of what was your experience as well, your work experience or your background?
So originally I went to Kingston Morwood, which is like a land-based college where I did animal management. So I was, focused on working with animals, being out there with animals, which led me to getting a few jobs and finding out that I really disliked being just, told what to do all day, with, not the nicest tone of voice in most of the jobs. Especially I was horse based, and horses is you either get the nicest people in the world or not. So that's when I decided to go to uni, and I studied animal behaviour at Manchester Metropolitan University. And I was still on that sort of, I'm going to be an animal behaviourist, I'm going to work and do training and that sort of thing. But then during that course, I realised I had some ecology units, and I was like, oh, actually, that feels, I want to do that. That's where I want to go. And well, I guess a lot of students feel this way, but I thought, oh, I've got a degree now, it's fine, I can get a job, which wasn't true, because at that uni we didn't have to do a placement or anything. So although I had some experience from my jobs, it wasn't it wasn't ecology experience, it was animal hands-on stuff. So I sort of came back home and I was like, oh, I had to live back at home again. And I was like, I can't get a job in what I want. Almost debating, do I just go back to my old job at Waitrose? And then I thought, no, let's do a master's. Let's give myself that redirection into sort of a title that is more ecology based, and also that will give me the time, and the course itself had a mandatory placement offer. So I thought, I can volunteer most of the rest of my time around my studies, and I have to do the official placement as part of it. Obviously, I went off to BU and I had a little look at what we had, and it was like fate. I was like, okay, biodiversity conservation, perfect. That's exactly what I want to do. Went in for the open days and stuff, and I was like, yeah, okay, let's go. I was on this like mission of saying yes to a lot of stuff, so I was like, okay, I'm just going to do it. Don't overthink it. And yeah, I had a really great year. I met loads of nice people, not just my other fellow students on the course. And with a master's, you do get a really good mix of a background as well. People come from all different walks of life. They're looking for a new job, or a new career path, or like me, they've kind of finished uni and are looking for that next step. So yeah, and also the lecturers as well, because I still bug the lecturers now in all my roles and stuff, saying, oh, what about this? What about this? Could you come along with this? So yeah, and then alongside that, I just started on a whim volunteering at Hengistbury Head, because being from the local area, that's kind of like the nature reserve that pops into people's heads. On the beach, nice. I thought, that'd be a nice place to go. And I basically never left. I did my placement there as well. I did my dissertation there, and I managed to get a paid placement while I was there. So this was through some funding. This was all sort of based upon my, I started to run some nature-focused bereavement sessions, which was also what I did my dissertation on. So I cheated, really. I cheated my masters. I was like, I can get paid, and it wasn't much, mind you. It was £100 a week, but I found some funding which was actually really interesting. It's from the ICCM, which is the Institute of Cemetery and Crematorium Management. So this is something I learned, is that when people are cremated, if they have any new body part, if they'd had like a hip replacement, knee replacement, the metal in that gets melted down and put into a pot to give back to charitable organisations. So, but related to bereavement. So that's where I got some money to fund my placement, and therefore my dissertation while I did it. There's weird pots of money. You can always find money somewhere that's related to what you're doing. But yeah, that was a weird.
Yeah, you have to do a bit of research.
Yeah, exactly. That was the weirdest one for me. So that then led on to further funding for an actual role, which I then had to interview for. You don't get anything for free in this life. You don't just get given roles. So I got, I think it was about 14,000 or 17,000, mainly from the National Lottery, and that funded a 6-month full-time role, and that meant that I could carry on doing my nature-focused bereavement groups and still work at Hengistbury and do ranger stuff. It was perfect. And then I took on our Leave Any Footprints engagement coordinator left, and I took on that role, and then now I'm doing Dorset Dogs stuff for Hengistbury Head. So yeah, it's been a long journey, and that contract ends in June, and then I'm going to the farm. Ooh, I'm diving in head first. So yeah.
So at the moment, you've been doing on the farm alongside your full-time roles?
Yes. So yes. It's been a lot of work.
Yeah, it sounds it. And it sounds like your kind of background with your work is you've really been proactive in finding the right type of role for you in terms of conservation. And it sounds like you have to do quite a lot of work in terms of if you want to find funding, or volunteering as well is really, really important in the conservation field to get those jobs.
Unfortunately, yes. So funding is just non-existent in conservation. So most people have to volunteer, which is wrong. We don't like it, but unfortunately we're still at that place, and it's necessary for most of the jobs. I mean, and so is a degree nowadays. It's like, I think it's the same for most jobs, because it's not that possibly the degree is the necessary part of it, but you need it because everybody else has them, and you need to have the relevant ones, and you need to show that you've got some of the book learning against the physical stuff, but you really need to sort of give up a lot of your time to get some of that experience hands on.
So, and then obviously you said at the beginning, you're not really a business kind of person. So how do you find the practicalities of actually starting the business, the business side of the farm? Obviously you're, experienced in the kind of the growing and the practical side of it, but the actual business side of it, how did you learn as you went along? What did you do to kind of prepare for that?
Yeah, so we absolutely are learning as we go along. Luckily, she's got some experience she was sort of self-employed as a chef, so she knows certain things, but obviously that wasn't the CIC. So we had this guy help us fill in the paperwork, especially for the CIC, because there's quite a few things you've got to sort of set up before they allow you to say you're a CIC. They need to make sure, obviously, that you are going to do what you say you're going to do. But the rest of it, we have we are winging it. We're still winging it as we go along. We just have to make sure, obviously, that we don't do anything that will get us in trouble, or do anything wrong. And luckily we've got, a really good support. Again, we've even had volunteers offering up help with that side of things as well. Just saying, well, if you need a hand, or if you want me to look at the books, or just things like that, just to make sure we're on the right track and we're doing the right sorts of things. So we've been really grateful for all of our volunteers, including those that haven't been able to pick up a spade. It's even the ones that have been behind the scenes going, okay, maybe that's not the greatest idea, or have you thought about doing it this way, or that sort of thing. So
Brilliant. And did you get any financial support to get you started with your business?
So our first sort of influx, mainly came from me and Kate, but we started up a crowdfunder for most of our stuff that we had. We had like a polytunnel we wanted, which was about $3,000. So we put up our crowdfunder, and we got £10,000, so that was good. And for some reason it's still open. I obviously didn't know exactly what I was doing when I set it up, but people can still donate, so we still kind of get like random trickles in, which can go into our pot of offering veg boxes to families that need it, or putting aside for some educational visits when we can offer those better and stuff like that. So none of it's going to waste. But we bought all of our seeds for the wildflower dough, which were quite expensive. All the bits for our pond, which unfortunately our pond did not do well in the drought, which was really sad, because we're kind of having to start almost all over again with that. And mainly our polytunnel and some of the veg seeds to really kick us off, because basically we started in October, but we didn't really do anything on the farm until about December time, end of November, December. And then, you have to start growing by things have to start going in the ground February, March time. So it's like, we were really, pushing it. And luckily that crowdfunder gave us that boost just to get us started.
Excellent. And you were a contestant in the 2022 Bournemouth University Eco Entrepreneurs Fund.
Yes.
So, and you were a runner-up for that. So, that was amazing. And you were awarded £1,500. So can you tell me a bit more about that experience? So you were doing that as a graduate, weren't you?
Yes. So it was open to current students and graduates up to 3 years. So I was like, I've just met the criteria there, and it was kind of perfect. I just saw it. I think I saw it advertised on BU's LinkedIn or somewhere like that. It was definitely something to do with BU's advertisement somewhere. And I just kind of read through the brief, because obviously I was looking for funding here, there, and everywhere, anywhere we could get it at that point. And I just thought, that's perfect. Let's give it a go. So it was an application form, but application forms are relatively similar for grant bids and things like that. So it's just kind of explain what your idea is, This was slightly different because it was sort of an entrepreneur fund, so they wanted to know a bit more about the business rather than what are you doing with the money sort of thing. And I sort of submitted it and I went, okay, let's hope, fingers crossed. And then, we got shortlisted. So we were like, okay, perfect. So we had a chat with a couple of the people on that were helping out with it or organising it. It kind of gave us a chance, well, me a chance to sort of false pitch it, I guess, in a way. It was, what are we going to talk about? What do they think we should be talking, what should I be highlighting about it? And then, yeah, we were invited to a full day of pitches at the uni in a building I'd never been in because it was the business side. It was in town, and it was a really fun day. I met loads of really interesting people, and we kind of did like a Dragon's Den style pitch, which was quite nerve wracking for me. Usually I'm like, okay, all on the computer, you send off the application and you wait for the results. And yeah, so I came second, and I was I was really happy. I couldn't believe it, and it wasn't just that; it was meeting everyone that was there as well. You don't often get the chance to do that. A farming sort of business, it's not really the business world, and yeah, so it was a nice day. It was a really fun day, and there was tea and coffee and lunch. So who can moan?
Excellent. So it's really worth kind of having a look at that if for potential students and graduates who might be interested in it.
Yeah, definitely. And it was a really wide range of ideas as well. So it's kind of like if you've got an idea, you might as well just go for it because it could work out well. And I think everybody walked away with something, didn't they?
Yeah, so they're kind of different amounts for whether it's first, second, and then I think everyone kind of the run. I guess you were second, and then the runners up from that were also awarded some money, weren't they?
Yeah, I think Santander put a bit extra in, and so did the uni to sort of make it worth, and that made it very worthwhile for everybody. So yeah, it was a great day.
So what challenges have you faced building this community interest company, and how have you overcome them?
It's been quite a few different hurdles as they've come along. Luckily, they've kind of waited to take turns and not all come at once. So I'd say originally setting it up, it was quite tricky because we had, there was so much paperwork to follow, and like I said, luckily we did have some input from people that did know what was going on, but we needed to provide so much, and we didn't really, both of us were working as much as we could to get this off the ground, so it's really quite difficult. And so I'd say that was probably our first hurdle, but we stuck in and we did it, and it was all fine in the end. It all got, there was a few passings back of, oh, what about this, and setting up bank accounts and stuff. It's just took so much longer than you think, especially for a business and a CIC, because you've got to provide all this evidence even to the banks and stuff. And then some of our main challenges have come from Mother Nature herself. So we had a really wet winter. There'll be a core memory in there of both me and Kate on our own with my dog planting trees with the wind and the rain just absolutely hammering us. We were just digging these holes. We were just like, please, no more trees to dig. And we were both absolutely soaked. But we did get there. We with the help of loads of volunteers, we planted over 4,500 trees on that land, which would have had nothing before. And then, money's always going to be a bit tricky at the beginning, especially for the first year of any business. And we were trying to find, where can we get the funding to give us stuff to start off with. So we need, a pack and store area for the veg, and we needed a potting shed, and we needed these compost bays, and there was just always something that we needed to build or we needed money for that we couldn't afford to do out of our own pockets. So it was just kind of trying to find the best ways to go about that. And then the drought hit, so then we had a completely opposite problem in, we had to use, luckily we do have mains water, but that's a water bill that we didn't want to use. It's also not as eco as we wanted to be. We wanted to already have our water storage options, but yet again, they cost money, and they, we need buildings to have water to siphon off of. So it's kind of like you end up being like, oh, that's that problem again. And we do have a well on site, but we were struggling to get people to come out and look at it, to test it for us. And then if it is fine, you need a pump, and that's again money. So it's kind of like it's the same issues, but in different ways. But that worked out for us. We managed it. We did produce food, and yes, the pond suffered, and yes, the meadows suffered, but we managed to feed and water those trees. We managed to feed and water all the food, to do the veg boxes, and we managed it just about. And now we're sort of moving into winter again, and there's always going to be challenges, I think, but it's just kind of like tackling them head on and being like, okay, let's actually logically think about what we need and how we can do it. And just like I said, my contract ends in June, so I'm going to be there all the time, and that's when I really want to kick off with the education stuff. So we've just managed to secure 10,000 from the National Lottery to build our community hub and our outdoor kitchen, because that will really step up our game in terms of offering not only our money making side of things, so offering course days with food attached is going to really push our worth up, but also that means we could offer a full day to a charity and say, look, bring a couple people down, we'll do a bit of planting, we'll do a bit of gardening, then we can have lunch and cook lunch together, and then we can do some bird watching or something in the afternoon. So it's the full cycle. So that outdoor kitchen and community space is going to really, really level up what we can offer. So yeah, we're getting there.
Amazing. And do you have any advice for anyone who wants to start a project or a business like yours, like a social enterprise or community interest company? What advice would you
I guess it completely depends upon that person, upon their ideas. But I did find that going for things and just trying it out, and even if you're uncomfortable or you think, oh, that's way out of our league or whatever, just going for it and giving it a go, and then seeing what happens. Because at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, it's fine. There's always another option to follow. But if you didn't try, then you didn't go for it, so you can't say that you're not worthy of it because you didn't even try. So that's what we're doing. We're just trying everything and putting, sometimes it doesn't work out, and it hasn't worked out for us sometimes, but that's fine. You just say, okay, that didn't work, let's try something else.
I think that's really good advice. Sometimes you just got to do it, haven't you? You just get on with it.
Yeah.
Take those risks. If it doesn't work out, you've learnt. You move on. You keep trying.
Yeah.
Keep going.
I mean, obviously, don't get yourselves into debt or go for things that would detriment to yourself or your business. But if you think it's just a bit risky, not risky, but if it's just a bit out of your comfort zone, it's just worth doing. Dragon's Den was definitely out of my comfort zone. Our BU eco entrepreneurs, I was almost debating. I was like, oh, should I do it? Should I not? Should I do it? Should I not? I was like, do you know what? Just do it. What's the worst that's going to happen? Nothing.
No, excellent. And you did so well. You did so well in it.
Yeah, and we, that money got us a nice outdoor an outdoor bell tent, so we had spaces to go, especially in the heat this summer. We had somewhere to go, and it'll offer a portable space on our site to do some education stuff as well. So yeah, it was great, and some books, loads of books.
Amazing.
Perfect.
That's brilliant. And just one last thing, do you still take on volunteers? If anyone is listening to this and they're like, oh, I really want to get involved in the 4 Acre Farm, can they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a website and an Instagram and also Facebook as well, and those, we respond to messages on any of those, so if anyone does want to, they're probably the best ways to get hold of us. But also, you can always pop down and just have a look as well and see what we're up to. It definitely looks 100% nicer now than it did before, as it's old maize field, and we were thinking, oh, how is this ever going to look nice and be full of wildlife? But now it's really getting there. So it's worth a look.
Brilliant. Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Mollie, for talking to us today. It's been really interesting just hearing your story and hearing about the project and the farm. Somewhere that I really want to come and visit as well at some point. So it sounds really great.
No, thank you. Yeah, definitely come down and visit. It's worth a look.
If you are a BU student or recent graduate and feel you have a business idea which could help address the climate and ecological crisis, Bournemouth University will be opening its next round of the Eco Entrepreneurs Fund in January 2023. Please keep an eye out on the Bournemouth Uni website or social media pages or My Career Hub. Thank you for listening.